Welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson. And a warm welcome to the show. As I am recording this, it is towards the end of 2025. And I wanted to do an episode today which was all about reflecting, thinking back, looking back at this year, at this natural moment to do so. So, whether you are already coming towards the holiday season, even if you have another week or two to come, this is a natural moment where many of us take some time away from work, some time away from the busyness of the workplace, the careers that we have, and we really consider what next with the new year. So I wanted to create this two-part mini series, I suppose. This episode very much thinking about reflecting and looking back on the year that was 2025, but then in January giving you a really fast kickstart to 2026, thinking about how can you really enable your leadership dreams, goals, and ambitions and really make that fast start in 2026. So, this is very much today about the review part, and we'll be back in January with a part two, which is about the getting momentum to make that fast start. Now, today's episode, looking back, reviewing 2025, I decided that I would share many of the exercises that I include in the very first chapter of my brand new best selling book, Become a Global Leader. And I'm very excited. This published only in the last few weeks. And we've had some amazing feedback already on this, some brilliant reviews and feedback about how it's helping people already. It's been called insightful and valuable to the people who have already bought their copy. So I thought I would share some of the exercises and the activations from the very first chapter of the book so that you can benefit too. I've designed my book to be incredibly practical and focused on the action. I don't sit in theory, although there are lots of frameworks and strategies inside the book. But I do also believe that the only way it becomes a reality is if we put it into practice, if we take the actions, the steps, create the habits to make it a reality. So, this will give you a bit of a flavor of the book as well. And if you haven't got your copy as yet, then why not find your own copy of this book and look at all of the four areas within global leader communication? And I'll put a link to that in the show notes. But coming back to the theme for today, looking back, reflecting. I want to start by taking a moment to acknowledge 2025 has been a year where I have met people who are having the best year. They're having years where things are going incredibly well for them in their career. They've managed to access new promotions, new projects. They've grown, they've seen new opportunities coming their way. I've also met people who have faced incredibly challenging moments in 2025. They have faced restructures, redundancies, layoffs within their organization. And this was not the first time that they faced this. In fact, for many people, this was at least the second or third time they were facing it in as many years. This is a cyclical process that seems to be happening right now. And I have also met people who were effectively, they felt like their work, their career was on hold this year. They were not working for the majority of this year. They were doing all the right things, and yet they weren't able to successfully land a new role as yet. And so this episode is for all of you. It doesn't matter where you're at, whether you've had on the surface level lots of progress in your career this year, whether you have experienced setbacks and obstacles, or whether you just felt like you were in a holding pattern this year. This episode is for all of you. And I really want you to take seriously the exercises I'm going to share with you now. I'd really encourage you to listen. If you have the time, go back and listen again and do the exercises with me. Or maybe, pause and reflect after each section as I ask you the questions to help you unlock what this year was about and what you can take from it that is going to help you for next year. So, the first exercise, the first activation that I want you to do is to map and acknowledge your wins in 2025. Now, I have just talked about that not all of you have had, on the surface level, these amazing wins in your career. But this is why this exercise is important for everybody. I don't want you to skip this. I want you to really capture, write down, think about all of the moments in this year that you could term as a win, something that went well, something that created momentum and energy. It might not have got you to the result you wanted, the ultimate goal, but I want you to acknowledge that you took the action and something positive came out of that. So it could be, for example, that you were able to build great relationships with individuals or teams. It could be that even though the project wasn't delivered on time, that you hit certain milestones, that you were able to move the project forward, or even change the direction of the project if there were certain risks highlighted. I want you to think about it as the positive moments, even in the everyday, that created something impactful. And that impact could be to you, it could be to others, to the team, or it could be to the whole organization or the wider world, possibly. But I want you to write it all down. And the reason why is that as humans, we're very much focused on the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And it's quite challenging sometimes to look back and remember. We're so focused on what's new, we sometimes forget to pause and reflect and remember what we've done is great so far. And this is really important, particularly if you haven't hit those bigger milestones that you wanted to achieve, because I want you to acknowledge the progress that you're making. That even in a year that might have felt like it wasn't making the achievements that you wanted, it doesn't matter. There were still brilliant moments on that way that you can acknowledge now. So take your time with this exercise. Sometimes it can be quite hard looking back and thinking about it. So, going forward, I'd really encourage you to capture those moments, whether they're the large ones or the micro moments in your everyday. And I do this personally on a weekly basis. If that's too often for you, then think about it on a monthly basis. But it is that process that helps us recognize that we are delivering great things, that we are achieving. And that is a positive thing. I do this on a Friday afternoon. I feel like it's the natural end of my week to do this. And I do encourage you to do the same. So, this is the first action, the first area exercise that I want you to do. Map and acknowledge your wins from 2025. The next area is to know your talent. Now, this is really important, particularly for those of you who are going for ambitious leadership goals, who know that you're ready for more, that you're ready to grow and really go for it in 2026. And particularly if you know that either in your current role or in your current situation, you're not able to fully demonstrate everything that you can do. You've got so much more to give. This is definitely for you. Now, knowing your own talent is recognizing the leadership characteristics, the skills, the areas that you already have and bring to your workplace today and to your work today. It is absolutely recognizing that you already have those areas and bring them, that you can show them and share them with others already. And again, these are things that sometimes we forget because of the busyness of the everyday, because sometimes we have those doubts and fears that we're not there already. Um, Things like imposter syndrome or worrying if we're good enough. But the reality is, your belief in achieving the leadership goal, the leadership dream, is also connected to recognizing that you're talented already. And this is not coming from a place of arrogance or coming from a place of considering you're better than other people, but just recognizing you are a unique human being with great skills and attitudes and attributes that you can bring already. And this is what it's about. It's part of your self trust, your self belief, and self validation, to be honest with you, because so often we feel we're only validated when somebody else tells us we are the leader, when we've achieved the job title, when we get given the role. So, this work is actually coming from the inside out. Recognizing self leadership is also about recognizing your own talent, recognizing your own leadership. And I have a couple of questions for you, which are direct from the book, which I want you to consider. So, this might be a moment where you listen, perhaps you pause as you write your own notes, or if you're not in a place listening to this, watching this, where you can do that, I highly recommend you come back to this exercise and really do the reflection properly. So, the first question, and it sounds like a very simple one, but it's one that sometimes people get stuck on, amazingly, is what do you know you are great at? What do you know you are great at? Now, just notice what happens in your body as I ask that question. Do you feel very comfortable with that question? Or do you start to feel very uncomfortable and start to have maybe some self talk about, well, I know I'm not so great at this, or I think I'm okay at that? I want you to turn this around and really be focused on the great at aspect. Really go for it. Really consider anything that you've been told in your past that you are great at within your work, in what you deliver, in the value you bring to the team. Write that list out and keep going. And when you run out of ideas of what to write, pause on it, come back to it later, come back to it another day, and see what you can add. I really encourage you to know this about yourself. What are you great at? What do you know you're great at? So that's the first question. The second question is, how are you showing up as a leader today? If achieving the leadership goal, the leadership role is your focus, is your intention, then the reality is you probably are showing up in aspects of your work as a leader already. There are maybe projects you are leading. Maybe you are demonstrating leadership behaviors in certain contexts with certain groups of people. I really encourage you to recognize this. You may not feel that you're at the leadership level yet. However, you don't have to be ticking all the boxes to be demonstrating that, to be showing up as the leader today. So answer that question. How are you showing up as a leader today? And connected to that, in what types of situations? Who's with you? What's happening? And the final question is, what kind of leadership behaviors are you already demonstrating? So this is really getting quite specific now and helping you to put down in words what you consider to be the leadership behaviors that are important, that will make the difference in how people notice you, how they consider you as a leader. This is quite important because, again, even if you're not at that level yet and that is your aspiration, there will be aspects of those behaviors that you're showing today, even in moments in time. So I want you to really reflect on this question. What kind of leadership behaviors are you already demonstrating? So this is all about knowing your talent. The next exercise is about reflecting and reinforcing your unique strengths. Now, we all have unique strengths, our unique ingredients that make us different from everybody else who we ever work with. And I know that when I work with people, that sometimes they get very focused on the other part of this, the development areas, the areas that they know they're not great at yet, that they need to work on to get better at. Now, of course, we need to know what our development areas are. That is a really important part of your learning, your growth, your development. And I'm asking a really specific question about your strengths. Not to ignore those development areas, not to ignore that we all have areas to work on, but sometimes we get too focused on this. We get too focused on what we need to improve, and that can feel like a never ending story. What if instead we double down on our unique strengths and what we bring and how we do it? What if we really embrace that and understood that's what makes us unique and special in the value that we bring to the world? I think this is super exciting. So, here is the exercise, and hopefully, this is a really exciting exercise for you to do. I want you to gather every single bit of feedback that you've ever had. Now, if you've been working for many years, as many of my clients have, that might take a bit of time, but really do this. Like so often, I find I meet people who have had, as part of their organization, regular performance reviews. And what happens to those performance reviews? They get discussed potentially and then forgotten. They get filed away either electronically, physically, and certainly mentally. And we move on to the next thing and we get going and we get busy again. But the reality is, the clues to what people value about you, what are your unique ingredients, sit within those feedbacks. So, whether it's performance reviews, the informal emails saying, well done, I really appreciated you because, or whether it was just in conversations you've had over time, I want you to collect it all into one place so that you can really see it. You can see what other people see in you. And this is, again, not to come from a place of arrogance or big headedness, but again, to recognize that whatever's happened in your year this year, you are talented. You have unique strengths. And this is part of building up your self leadership as you get ready for the next step in 2026. This is what it's all about. So, once you have all that feedback, look at the themes, the common words, the things that repeat that people are often saying about you. And then I want you to make this very visible. Either write it all in one place, maybe you have a notebook or you have somewhere where you journal or gather your ideas. Put it all together so that you can go back to it regularly and remind yourself. Remind yourself when you're having that tough day or you don't feel like you're achieving your goals. But it's also something that you can make really visible. So for me, I have my vision board here, I have my feedback here, and this reminds me again why this is important, why I need to keep going, even in these really tough personal and professional moments. So this is worth doing. I know it will take time, but it's a perfect activity to do at the end of this year. And this is about getting your foundations, your self leadership foundations, really secure as you move forward into 2026. So, I have a few questions for you, some final reflection questions, which I would love for you to answer after these activations, these exercises today. What are your key wins and proud moments from 2025? What are you great at? And what are your unique ingredients? This episode is all about looking back And I mentioned there's going to be a part two in a few weeks' time when we enter January 2026, which will be about moving forward, getting really going with that big leadership dream and goal that you have. So look out for that episode right at the start of January. But in the meantime, I love to hear from you. I'd love to know what has been most valuable to you from this episode. What are your unique ingredients and strengths and talents? Again, share this with me. I really love it when you come and tell me. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. My personal profile is Victoria Reynoldson. I also want to take a moment at this point to say thank you. We are coming towards the end of the year. We do have a few more guest episodes coming up in December, but this is my last solo episode, me recording by myself at the end of 2025. This year for me has been quite a momentous year. It's been my 10 years in business, my 10th work anniversary. On the podcast, we have celebrated 3 years and over 150 episodes. And of course, we have the book which was published a few weeks ago, Become a Global Leader. These are major milestones, but ultimately, what it's about for me is about connection. And every time you listen to one of these episodes, whether this is your first one or you've been listening all the way through and listened to over 150, I want to say a real heartfelt thank you. Thank you to you for being there, for listening, for engaging, for being part of the conversation, and ultimately connecting. This is what it's about. And for me, my unique strengths, what I want to bring is this sense of growth, learning, enabling people's ambitious leadership goals and dreams. And if that's you and you want to get going with that, then I highly recommend the book, Become a Global Leader. Of course, gift that to somebody else if that is their dream, but also think about gifting yourself. If you know that you want to become a global leader, if that 2026 is your year and you want to make it happen, then this is the book for you. And you can get it at www.culturecuppa.com/book. And I'll put that link in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. Look out for the exciting guests I've got coming up in the next few weeks, and I'll be back with a solo episode in January. So as this is my opportunity, if you're celebrating, happy holidays and have a good end to 2025.